What is a high value man? Oh, it's Kevin Samuels.
What is a high value man? Glad you asked. Let's define it.
Oh my god, what is a high value man, dude? Bro, I mean, I know we're talking a lot about like male podcasts lately. So, I've seen some clips from Kevin Samuels. I don't really know, exactly where he falls on the high value man spectrum. I don't really know, bro. Listen, it seems like the term high value man is just a way to justify inappropriate male behavior by saying that high valued men can cheat on their wives because they're just great men, and great men are amazing and great women are just mediocre. That kind of feels like what they're saying when they talk about high value men. I imagine that you could use the term high valued man as some kind of a system. Like, I look at myself as just a man. And so I validate myself and the way that my actions based off of what I define as a man from my personal perspective. Somebody who's strong, somebody who provides, somebody who keeps to their word, somebody who's honest, like all these different things. That's what it means to me to be a man. And then I try to align myself with that particular with those moral values. So I create a moral network for myself, and I define it as that's what it is to be a man. And then I operate in that capacity. So the term high value man isn't necessarily wrong. It's just the fact that when I see people say that they're high valued men, it's usually in a way that diminishes women. So let's see. Wow, that is loud. Why?
Welcome back. For those of you who don't know, my name is Keven Samuels. I'm a professional men's and corporate image consultant. My job is to make sure my clients look good, smell great, and are the best version of themselves each and every day. But
corporate consultant. Okay. Sounds like a very shallow thing from that perspective. Okay.
The reason you're here right now is because the term high value man seems to be everywhere.
Okay.
Full disclosure, I didn't create the term, guys. High value man has been with us for a long time. I have just put my own unique spin on it and kind of popularized it, and it has kind of gone viral. But here's the thing. So many people are talking about high value this, high value that. And many times they're actually talking about me and saying as though, well, Kevin said this or Kevin said that. And many people are getting it 100% wrong. So in an attempt to make sense of all this, I want to give you guys the simple 6 basic principles that I define as being high value.
Book 1.
Now, again, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying a high value man. So
let's see. Book 1 on Kevin Samuels. Okay. So it's a not secure website. So that makes me feel really secure about even touching this. Kevin Samuels image. What the fuck is this? I don't even feel comfortable with this. What? What's the booking? How much money is it? Okay. I'm going to book for Thursday at 2 p.m. Okay, so there's no pricing here. You have to put all of your information in here. A ton of information in here in order to even get the price of this thing. Like, really weird information. You have to put your name, your address, your email, your employer, your job title, job duties, age. I'm just curious about the pricing. You have to put in your height, your weight, your dress size, your jacket size, shoe size. What the fuck? Why? Just to book you? That's so weird. What the fuck? I just want to know the price of your thing is. FAQ, how much does it cost? That's what I wish they would say.
Your mileage may vary, your opinion is your opinion, but when I'm talking about it, this is what I'm talking about. So let's get it started. First of all, let's go over some basic definitions. High, great, greater than normal in quantity, size, or intensity. Value, the regard of something held to deserve, the importance, worth, or usefulness of something. And man, an adult human male. So when you put all that together, what do you have? An adult human male that's greater than normal importance or usefulness to what? The group. Basic economic principle states that the value of something is what a market is willing to pay for it. The value is determined by what? The market. And when we're talking about individuals, the market is other people, men or women. So a high value man is completely determined by the market.
See, this is the thing though, right? So we're determining the fundamentals of what a high value man could be. And it's by being better than the rest of the men in the particular group. That's fine. That makes sense. But how do you determine what is a good man and not a bad? Like what in what capacity, right? So if you consider, well, you're a high value man if you make more than the average man. Okay, you could consider a high value man if you are more morally righteous than other people. Like, for instance, we have a lot of men who don't stay with their baby moms. I would consider that's where I would focus more on being there for your kids. More than being there for your kids, more than staying with the mother of your child per se. Like, you can be a good father, you don't have to be a good husband, but you get my point. Somebody who's like more honest. That's how I value high value man is. Somebody who's like actually working to provide. Somebody who's committed to at least their children, but also to like their spouse, their significant other as well. These are the types of things. Somebody who's honest, somebody who's like reliable, somebody who's trustworthy. These are the things. This is the way that I would validate a high valued man, right? I wonder if that's what he's going to say.
Case in point, you can have a vehicle, a home, anything in your possession. You can hold it dear. It could be supremely important to you. But when you put it on the market decides. And there's an upper limit and a lower limit. It doesn't really matter if you think the low is too low or the high is not high enough. That's what the market is willing to pay for it, and that is its overall value. That has been with us forever. So when we start talking about that, we're dealing with people. It really throws people off because it seems so cold, so calculated. But like it or not, that's the way the world is. So let's get into this whole high value man thing.
I also think that like we're setting ourselves up to compare men that don't have the same capacity as other men to be criticized for not being man enough, right? So listen, based on several factors, like even education, even your height, honestly, education, height, you know, the environment that you're in dictates how much money you can make, for instance. So rather than saying like, oh, a high value man is very much the way that we talk about high value man is like, hey, we have this whole chart from before. The way it seems like he's talking about high value man is like, oh, hey, listen, like this is where the average man is. And so if you're above the average man, like if you're up here, then you're a high value man. To me, I think it should be about different things. Like for one, being the best version of yourself. Everybody has a low point and a high point. And you should do your best to be the best version of yourselves. What makes you the best version of yourself? Do your best to get a solid job that provides for you. It doesn't have to be an amazing job. If the best job you can get in your area is a Walmart employee, commit to that job and work your fucking dick off. It's to be as polite to people as possible, be honest as possible, commit as much as possible, be somebody that's reliable as possible. A lot of times doing things that you don't want to do is part of that, right? So there seems to be a high value man. If you're basing a high value man off of the curve of men, I think that's dumb. I mean, I just think that's kind of silly. Sorry. Because then as long as you're doing better than other men, you're a good guy. You're great. But you could still be worthless shit, because not for nothing, I don't think that the average man is doing quite well enough to prove that men are good, right? So if anything, you're better off setting a particular standard, like, hey, you should do your best to make your money, respect people around you as much as possible, commit, be honest, be reliable, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This way, everybody theoretically can be a high value man, right? That was what makes more sense. It's more of a moral. It's more of a moral compass. That's what we're really talking about. Is high value man should be like a moral compass. Make yourself a moral compass. That's what you want to do. This looks like a clock more than a compass, but you get my point. That's what we should be doing. We should be emphasizing moral compasses rather than trying to be better than other people per se, because that's just a slippery slope, and it just sets people up to think that they're better than everybody, but it's not necessarily true. Yeah.
Number one, in order to be a high value man, it starts with money. Again, like it or not, I didn't put the six-figure thing out there. It's been with us since the mid-'80s, and like it or not, that's where this whole thing starts. You can't be high value and homeless, so you have to make a certain amount of money, and the line is roughly at $10,000 a month, adjusted for Atlanta dollars.
That's what I'm saying, man. I think that's that's not great. I don't think that that's attainable for people. It's not really a moral system anymore. It's now just a way to put down people who can't. You simply put, you just can't always make that money. We have a lot of socioeconomic issues going on. We have technology displacing jobs, driving down wages. We have a lot of money that funneled up to the top. We have a very broken capitalist system, and we're not going to get into that. But if I'm trying to advocate for a very solid, positive moral compass for a man, my compass isn't going to be, you need to make $10,000 a month. You need to do the best that you can based on your capabilities. If you're somebody who grew up and you had really great access to education and a bunch of opportunities, things that I had, you should be striving for more. I used to work at a bus company as a bus washing manager. It was a fine position, but I was overqualified for the job. There were other people there that were not overqualified, not because they're bad people, but simply put, they just didn't come from all the opportunity that I came from. So I was actually being a low value man in that situation. I was actually taking up a job that somebody else could have done perfectly fine because I was overqualified, because I was lazy. That's not being the best version of myself, right? That's being a lazy version of myself. And then I started going to school for computer science. Now I obviously got very lucky doing content creation, so I do very well doing this. But like that's my point. So like, am I supposed to say like, oh, well, I have better opportunity in my life, so I have an opportunity to make more money, so I'm better than you because this is the job that might be the height of your life? No, because everybody's different and comes from a different area. There was a guy, like there were guys that I work with that came from, they came from El Salvador. Like they don't have the access to the same education that I did. So like them becoming like a bus washing manager, which is very likely for them to be able to do, like that's not a shameful position for them. That's solid because like based on the environment that they're in, like that's probably the best that they could do. It's not a criticism, but they're doing, if they become that job, that's like the best version of themselves that they can do. Like, you understand what I'm saying? This is all very relative. Like this is supposed to be a moral compass, not a way to put down men who simply could not achieve this. That's the thing. And when I say they came from El Salvador, like they literally just came. Like they spoke very like little English. They were great guys though. But you get my point.
You live in San Francisco, LA, New York City, where the cost of living is higher than 100%, you need to adjust it. So $10,000 a month gets the starting point off for high value. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just giving you what the world gave me. Number 2, that money needs to be made over a length of time, i.e. performance. And that's roughly about 5 years. And about the 3-year mark, you're kind of starting to scratch the surface. Why does it need to be 5 years? Well, because guys, it's a matter of consistency and stability. Look in the NFL, the NBA, anybody can have a great season, but having a great season does not automatically mean you're going to the Hall of Fame. They want to see consistent numbers over a period of time. You know how this works, just like I do in business. You can't be a one-hit wonder or have up here and down there. Consistency, performance over a length of time. That's why that 5-year mark is so important. Like I said, around 3 years, you're starting to scratch the surface, but at 5 years, people can pretty much count on you to say, this person understands and knows how to get it done. Number 3 is group acceptance. Like it or not, guys, high value men is like a fraternity. It's like a club, a secret society. And high value men know other high value men. They welcome him into the group. They know what it takes to be there. They know what it takes to get in there.
Yeah, man, this is just like a very exclusivity thing. I feel like the concept of a high value man is kind of worthless. Like the idea of it is like if the concept of what a high value man is simply just like performing really well in society, far better than the average, there's really what's the point of acknowledging that? Like there's literally none. It's not a moral compass. It's just an exclusivity club to put other people down. It's just silly. It doesn't make any sense. There's really no need to even use the term high value man unless it's an individual moral compass about being the best version of yourself. Because so far this just seems very dumb.
And high value men, group acceptance is supremely important. Guys, secret societies, fraternities, organizations have always been with us. And you know how this just works in just general interaction.
Yeah, there's always like really like inappropriate power dynamics in these type of societies. So they're not a good thing to reinforce.
Guys that just make their own secret society or club, but it doesn't matter as much as somebody says that group is important. Guys, this is about separation. High value men tend to huddle around other high value men for reasons I'm going to go into a little bit later.
Okay.
But group acceptance is another critical component of being a high value man. Why is group acceptance so important? Because the next part.
So like Harvey Weinstein would be considered a high value man, even though he's a sexual predator, right? So like this is like one of the fundamental flaws. Like it's just like, yeah, you make a lot of money, you're a good guy, and other people accept you. But I don't know, it's just not a good thing.
Network. You have to have a network of other high value men and others. This is another stumbling block for a lot of guys, for a lot of people, because they may have the money, even the length of time. They may look like they fit the group, but if they don't even have any other high value contacts or a network, a group of others, that person's going to be looked at with a side eye. Think of it like this.
Okay.
If you're sitting at the table with 10 high value men, and each of these 10 men has 50 contacts, that's 500 contacts, and you sit at the table.
I imagine there would be some cross-referencing between their contacts.
And you have twice as much money as any other man on there, but you have 0 contacts. What can you effectively get done other than throw money at it? These other men can make phone calls, influence, move things to get.
Wait, what do you need to get done? That's what I'm not understanding. Like, what needs to get done? What needs to get done? Like, I'm very confused. Like, what is the objective here? Isn't the objective to like take care of yourself and your family and propagate like other good children, specifically other good men if you're a man? Like, what is the goal here? To create movies? Like that just sounds like, oh, you're a movie producer, right? When we talk about high valued men, the goal would be to like be a good man. Like what is it to be a good man? There's nothing very specific. Like, I mean, like it's just being good in the ways that I described before. So like, but what are the contacts for? Well, those contacts are so that you can do other things. Well, does that necessarily contribute to being a man, or does that contribute to being another career, like a movie star? I don't understand. Like what does that matter? What do the contacts mean? What kind of contacts? Other high valued men? What does that mean?
things done, and you can only do what? Offer money and potentially feed off that network of contact. One thing high value men know and understand, that time is what's important, and building a network that actually works for you is extremely important. In some areas, it's called a book of business. A book of business can make you successful here, and here. Your contacts, your network is your net worth. You've heard this before, so you cannot underestimate how important having a network of high value men.
I like that. A high valued man should have high values as a man. Yes, I agree with that. High value men should have high values as a man. High values, high morals, like the things we were talking about before. Like, that's actually very good. This doesn't seem like high valued men as much as it seems like a bunch of elitists.
And other people is to your status as a high value man. After the network, we got to have the visibility. Guys, your income and your position has to be LinkedIn level. Think of it like
this. What does that mean?
This person says they're the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. This person is head of thoracic surgery at Johns Hopkins. This person is VP of Mergers and Acquisitions at Bank of America. And then someone says, hi, I'm an entrepreneur. 3 of those 4 people, at a glance, we can pretty much estimate who they are, what they do, and their relative importance in the overall socioeconomic structure. The 4th person, more information is needed. There's not enough visibility, not enough transparency to be.
So one of the things that I value as a man is that, like, it's none of your fucking business. This is something that I actually do value, and this is something like you don't need to know things about me. Like, I don't walk around as if I make a lot of money. I do pretty well for myself. I don't walk around like I make a lot of money. I have a value card. I don't care. Status symbols, I think, are a quick access to being the nobody. Right? Like, when you look at it, they talk about all the time, like, oh, Bill Gates looks like shit, right? You can't tell that he's worth billions of dollars. I think that fundamentally having too much of an emphasis of not only making enough money, but showing people that you make a lot of money is the fast track to being unsuccessful. Like, status symbols are a huge problem for a lot of different people. I don't care what you think about me. You're none of my fucking business, and I don't need to validate myself off of your perception of me. Because I think that weak people do that. I think that you're a weak person if you feel the need to be validated off of the opinion of other people. I don't care. There are people with less money than me that walk around with better status symbols than me because they're so worried about looking like they make a lot of money that they're not worried about any form of legitimate, like, capabilities or stability. It's a bad thing, right? Like this is the fundamental here. It's like, you got visibility, you got to look it. So what do I need to buy? Like, expensive clothing, expensive, like, cars, expensive, like, shit? No, it's a bad idea. That's an unstable thing. Those are frivolous, ridiculous things, and those are actually toxic focal points for a lot of different people. That's what, like, so I don't even agree with this. This is just presenting to me visibility. He gave us a particular example of, like, yeah, look at these big jobs, but it goes deeper than that. You dress well. Well, fuck that. I mean, I dress fine. I wear a fucking t-shirt. I don't care. You don't need to know how much money I make. I don't need to seem inaccessible to other people. Like, this just sounds less like being a person, and more about being an elitist person, that, like, an untouchable, and somebody that shouldn't be touched. You're just too good. You're too good. This doesn't really, like, and I don't think that men should be cocky or arrogant. I think that would be a toxically masculine trait. It's just, like, so fucking, this is just ridiculous to me.
Be a high value man, it needs to be at a glance. Again, your position and your income. Guys,
your position isn't at a glance. Your personhood is at a glance. So what he's saying subtextually is that, like, you should look like you're a high valued man. Just fucking, don't smell. That's all I say. Don't smell. And then you're great. Because smelling isn't considerate to other people.
A lot of money, but if it's
high value man is a material boy. Material boy.
Sketchy areas, no one can kind of understand where it's coming from. That does not give other high value men or even the public any kind of real confidence that you are who you say you are. Again, guys, it's about the market. It's what the market, the world is thinking. They got to know at a glance that you are a high value man. And the 6th part is probably my favorite part, guys. A high value man is useful to others and the group. A lot of times you hear people say, I don't want to be used. I don't want to be used. No, I want to be used. Why? Because that means I'm useful. High value men are in demand and useful. Their presence is felt when they're there, and their absence is felt when they're gone. That is how you know you're really a high value man. How you can move things, your ability to influence things, and that is your relative usefulness. In economics,
I mean, when I hear utility, it's more about being somebody that's, like, reliable and dependable if they need you. Like, that's it. Like, you don't. I don't. This seems to be from a very business type structure rather than from an individual structure. So I don't really agree with this.
It's called ULOs. How useful are you to the group? Again, there's no high value homeless, neither are there any high value loners. If you have all these resources, all this stuff, but it's all hoarded for your own selfish ends and no one can benefit from your money, your network, or anything you have, how valuable are you to the group, to the world, to other people? That's what this comes down to. High value men are in demand and useful to other people. As I said at the beginning, high value is all the rage, all the buzz right now. I didn't make it, but I want to clarify what I mean when I'm talking about it. The 6 basic principles of being a high value man, and that by no means is the end of it. Each individual person, after that 6 basic things there, they maybe put other things on top of it. They may have religious concerns, personal motivations, but those 6 core things need to be there. Look at it this way. High value has been with us forever. There's always been a ranking system, irrespective of race, culture, period of time. You will see higher
yeah. Well, that's one of the problems, though, that I have with this high value man set is because the way that he's described it is very much about groupthink and factors of like what is perceived as good. And now that he brought up race, like, yeah, there's like black people were seen as less good to the group, which was white people. And it was a very toxic narrative and a very toxic, it was just a very very toxic narrative. It was a very toxic association. So like I would like to move away from things that say, well, the group of people think that this is good, so that is a good thing. We should care less about the perception of the group think. Less like that to me is like that's more of a high value man. You don't have to. Why do you care what people think about you? It's very bizarre.
Value men, higher value individuals separate or be separated from the pack. That is how this works. You don't have to like it, but you do need to accept it. High value men understand that the world is a competitive place. All's fair in love and war, right? And high value does 2 things for men. It gives you more options and it gives you an opportunity to get more favorable outcomes. If you want more options or more favorable outcomes, you need to increase your overall value. And that principle is pretty well understood everywhere except when it comes to us. It gets personal, it gets hard, it gets difficult. And some of us don't like to reduce human beings to things that are so seemingly cold and calculated. But like it or not, that is what it is. We have civilized the world in general, we have evolved, but at the end of the day, we still had that primitive brain, that hunter-gatherer, fight or flight, and even though in the suit and all that other kind of stuff, that is who we are when it's right down to it. Better to know that exists and then ask yourself, what do you want to do about it, than try to fight against.
I find it very interesting that like the acknowledgement that there are biological factors and aspects of people in general, but in this case men, means that we need to like hang on those things like very heavily. We are very social creatures. Like, yes, I understand like there are very there might be like very inert things in inert ways or base level ways that like men interact and women interact. And like, yeah, sometimes it comes down to it, but like, why does everything I just find it so bizarre, like that we're leaning so heavily, like, well, we're all just fucking animals at the end of the day, and it's like, wait, what? You know, being a human is about being as little of an animal as possible. So it just feels like a very bizarre thing. It's because what he's saying is focus on your baser instincts, judge people based on like the particular like social values that we have. Like, oh, if somebody is perceived as weak, then they must be weak. I don't know. It just seems like a very weird thing. It's like the same when men are like, oh, I like a natural woman. And like, well, do you like a woman that shaves their armpits? And they're like, well, no, I don't like that. It's like, well, that's natural. Do you like, or rather, do you like women with hairy armpits or hairy? No, I don't like that. Okay, well, that's not the natural women have hairy everythings. So you don't like a natural woman. You have what you're perceiving to be as natural, which is nowhere near of what you would actually describe as natural, which would be somebody who grew up and lives outside in the fucking woods and doesn't shave, right? So it's just interesting. Like, it's just bizarre. It's very hard for me to communicate my issue that I have with this point, but it's just a very bizarre thing.
Against this whole thing of high value or not high value. Last things. Just because you're not a high value man does not mean you lack value or you have no value. And just because you may not be supremely useful to the group does not mean you're useless. High value is not a way of saying these guys are great and these guys are nothing.
It feels like it.
But it is a mark, a delineation, and it is a fact of life. It comes into play when men are dealing with men and when women are dealing with men. You can't get over it, guys, so you might as well understand it and act accordingly. Till the next time, your Godfather is out.
I don't know. It does seem like an exclusivity club. It seems to focus less on like positive morals and more just like how much money you make. That seems the only aspect of what a high value man is, which I think is a very toxic focus, because all he really said was like, you have to make a lot of money and you have to look like you make a lot of money. That was pretty much it, man. And you have to have like contacts and you need to network. those are not high valued men. Those are businessmen. Those are high earning businessmen. I don't think that that's good. I think that it ends up having like this negative impact of telling people like, hey, this is your moral focus, is to be a high value man. It's good to want to achieve better, and it's good to want to achieve more money, especially if you need more money. But I think that this is a bad. I think that even though he was saying like, oh, this doesn't mean that you're not if just because you're not high value doesn't mean you're not useful. But it is a way to be like a bit of an elitist. The clips that I've seen from Keven Samuels, he seems to do like the same thing that a lot of other people do, is they take women who aren't like particularly intelligent in like a lot of social conversations and issues, and he just puts them on the spot and he railroads them and makes the women look like shit. In general, that seems to be what you do. It's very easy. That's what like a lot of places do. That's what like people will do when they like walk around the street and they're like, let's interview people. They'll find some. This is what's like Steven Crowder, for instance. You'll sit down and you'll talk to people, right? The people who give you good answers, you don't even put them on the internet. People that give you bad answers, great stuff, great content. You look really intelligent by association. That seems to be kind of what we're doing here. So you platform yourself by just shitting on people who aren't necessarily as intelligent on the particular topics that you're talking about. And then you can railroad them, and bam, yeah, that's what it kind of seems like it is more than anything else.